In this episode, Tom Fox and Andrew Gay visit with Caitlin Hamilton about developing relationships through her course on Leadership-Kerr County. I know you'll enjoy this episode of Investing in the Future.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4. We are your co-host, Andrew Gay and Tom Fox, and today we are here with Caitlin Hamilton, and we're going to talk about leadership in our local area. First of all, hello, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining us. How's it going?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on. It's going really well. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, if you want to kick us off, maybe you want to give us just a little bit of background about who you are and what you do in the local area here.
Absolutely. So, I am actually a realtor with Century 21, the Hills Realty, and I grew up west of here around San Angelo. Ended up here, I think, about 12 years ago. And the newspaper industry is what actually brought me here. And so it's been a really fun transition into being my own boss.
That's great. Uh, so keeping in spirit with the podcast itself, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found Leadership Kerr County and what class you were of Leadership Kerr County?
Well, oh man, COVID kind of blew all of my count apart, but I'm pretty sure it was 2017. And I actually ended up in leadership because of Allison Boucher, who is one of my very best friends, and she's involved in absolutely everything. And she said, "You really need to go through this program. It is life changing." And it really was. I still have so many great connections with my class members. We still have a group chat. We call each other if we need anything. It's just been phenomenal.
Tom, over to you, sir.
So, let's start with the beginning. You signed up or applied and were accepted for your class. What were some of the early experiences you guys literally kind of walk us through your year for your class?
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, you get thrown together at the retreat. And so it's all, everybody likes to pretend they're shy to begin with. And then as the, the days progress, you really get to know these people and not just, on that superficial level, but you start forming these wonderful bonds. And I mean, what is a community without its people, right? So I think that bond is really what makes not only leadership great, but Kerrville great. So, I mean, like I said, we had so much fun. We learned so much, and we still have fun together. So,
Actually, let me pick up on that because you're the first person that's really articulated that, and I think it's so important. Yes, you're learning about Kerrville and Kerr County. Yes, you are increasing your knowledge and your experience about leadership, but now you're talking about those relationships, and not just those relationships in terms of personal relationships for friends, but you're building relationships to lead this county and this town into 2030 and hopefully beyond. And that the personal relationship you've had, you come to know you can trust these people. And that if someone else has gone through the program, you at least have confidence that they've studied and learned some of the same things you have. And perhaps that would give you an additional foundation to work together. But that I think is a hugely significant part of leadership, Kerr County, that you're creating these personal relationships with your fellow class members. And as you said, we're still having a Zoom call, and there are people you call, when you need to or when you want to. So that's such a significant part of that, and literally the first person that's really articulated that. So I really want to give you kudos for that.
I did have a question about you mentioned the retreat. I just wanted to ask, did you do the shoe game as the icebreaker?
yes, we did the
Okay.
shoot game.
Okay. Do you remember how that went down for you? Like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Were you nervous sitting there? Because I know I kind of was, honestly.
I think I made up the most ridiculous stuff that I could have. I picked up a shoe and I was like, "Oh, must be a lunch lady," or so. I can't even remember what I said, but it was so silly and outlandish. But I mean, it served its purpose. It was a great icebreaker and it got everybody feeling kind of loose and silly.
Yeah.
And I, I say keep the shoe game.
I think that when we did ours for our class, what you just described about getting in there and kind of loosening up, I was legitimately nervous. And by the time that was over, which no more than, gosh, like 30 minutes maybe for the whole thing, I had a completely different vibe. Like, I could, my walls were down, and that's all it took. Um, and everything after that was just relationship building, getting to know those my colleagues that I was in the class with, and whatnot. And I really think one of my biggest takeaways from the retreat was the disc assessment. So, had you done a disc assessment before doing the leadership retreat?
So I had not. I had actually never heard of a disc assessment before, but as soon as I got my results back, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I was right in the middle of a D and I, like on the line at the very top. So yeah.
I'm an I.
Yes.
I was actually like an ISC, so I had 3.
Look
Yeah,
at
no, no, no.
you.
I'm also a Gemini, so probably multiple personalities. I don't know, I'm not sure. But I thought that
It's
was
called schizophrenic.
I'll take it, whatever. Um, but learning your strengths and your weaknesses about yourself, and then being in a room of people that you don't really know, but you're kind of warming up to, and discussing all of that, leaving the retreat, I really and truly did feel a bond with those people, that were complete strangers walking into that retreat. And it was what, a day and a half, and then you're
Yes.
done. So I think that's really special, and something special about the leadership class. And I think it's a great way to kick off any class. And
I would I would 100% agree with you. And then not only that, you leave the class and then people are like, "Hey, I'm involved in this in the community. Come help me." And so, you know, there's that bond, but now they've also got you like, "Hey,
yeah,
you'd be great for this.
you're on the
Come
hook.
come come serve with me
Yeah,
on this." And so you're talking about the community and leadership and it just has a ripple effect and it's
yeah.
really cool to see.
I guess so. Moving on from the retreat, because that's
Mhm.
really just the first part of the class. It's kind of like the kickoff period,
Mhm.
and you get the walls down, and people get comfortable with themselves. But going through the different days, in the different learnings and the things, the knowledge that you gain throughout the class and throughout the year, what do you think would have been some of your highlights, or maybe like your favorite day? Do you have any very memorable experiences from your class year?
Oh man, you know, as I said, I've been in this community for 12 years. If it hadn't been for this program, I wouldn't know about water reclamation. I mean, stuff that we get so into our daily lives that we forget everything else that's going on around us and what it really takes to run, a community and a city. And so I thought that was so cool. I know not everybody will share that opinion.
Especially the water reclamation plant.
Yeah. But I think it's so neat that you get to step outside of your bubble and experience it with other people and see some of the real inner workings of this community. And it's eye-opening. It's really neat.
It was very eye-opening for myself too, and I
Mhm.
really think that going around and being exposed to that, you build out an idea and a framework of the underbelly of what it, like you said, of what it really takes to run city, county, and all the different pieces of the municipality puzzle, if you will. And one of the things that stood out to me was some of these people that work at some of those plants and things that are essential services of the city or whatever it may be, have been there for a really long time. And I would have never rubbed elbows with those people, I don't think, if I wouldn't have gotten outside my bubble. Uh, and and that's really, I think that's really special too. But I guess just to that point, how do you think? Because one thing we did not mention is you and I serve on the steering committee together now. So, and we're in the first year steering committee members, which is
Woohoo!
awesome. I was a class participant last year, and shifting from being a class participant to now being on the steering committee, can you recall anything that comes to mind that is different about being the class participant versus now being on the steering committee and going through some of those same um, classes and whatnot, but on the flip side?
Yeah. Well, I mean, number one, instead of being in the trenches trying to learn how to work together with all these different personalities, you're seeing it from the outside looking in. So that's been a real, I was like, man, did we sound like this? Did we, did we, have these moments where we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
Yes,
So
I do know.
yeah, okay. So that's been really interesting. Um, but it's also been a joy to watch people bond and, work together. And I mean, they're coming from completely different areas. And to see those barriers break down for, a big project, it's wonderful.
And the big project is Easter Fest, which I'm
Mhm.
really looking forward to this year. And I really think that, for me, kind of to your point about what you were saying, on the flip side of it, the pressure definitely feels like it's off being on the steering committee, because when you're in it, you're the one trying to figure out how to do things, problem solve, continuously bond with those people and do that kind of work. And on the flip side of that, it's kind of like you get to watch that happen in other people. And I really think that's been really special for myself. So I'm glad that you kind of share some of that same
Absolutely.
perspective.
So I wondered if you could say a few words about why you think it's so important for a town the size of Kerrville, in a relatively rural part of West Texas, to have this type of leadership development program, s- uh, so that we move forward. What kind of your thoughts on why we even need this kind of program?
It's a big question.
That is a big question. I know. Well, and I think it once again goes back to those relationships that you create, because now you're probably more likely to do business with someone you know. We were just talking about that earlier. But it also gives you a way to learn how to communicate with others, and you find out their interests, and like we were saying, all of a sudden you have people knocking on your door. Hey, I think this would be a great fit for you. This particular program or this board, or something like Kerrville Pets Alive. You love animals too? Come help, you know, things of that nature. So it's a beautiful engagement tool, and that's what our community needs. And we don't need just young people. We need people of all ages involved. And we need those ideas, and we need those different personality types coming in to try and make our community better. And I think we're succeeding. I love it here.
It's good. I think we would agree with you. I think both of us love it here too. So
Now, I have to pick up on something else you said, because once again, no one else has said this, and that's engagement. I now understand why you're such a good real estate agent.
Well, thank you.
You haven't said one thing about selling. You've talked about engagement, you've talked about relationships, and if that's the way you market yourself, no wonder you're so successful. I just bought it and I didn't know it. No, that's absolutely critical, because, I mean, you obviously have been inspired to, become more involved, as you and Andrew were talking about, and when you put the number of people in each class and multiply that by the number of years, you've got a fairly good sized pool of very talented, motivated people, to move forward. So it's really interesting, your take. It is completely different than the other folks we've talked to. They've talked about the tactical, things they learn and how they were able to apply them, but you've taken it from a completely different angle. Very well done.
Well, thank you.
I guess so. We're getting kind of close to the end of our time here, but maybe do you have any parting thoughts as far as if someone's interested in getting involved in leadership? Obviously, the answer is do it. You know, um, but what would you say to someone that was kind of curious about getting involved in leadership? Just like if you had to say a few words about that to them.
Oh gosh, I reach out. You're welcome to reach out to me. My phone number's out there. I'll answer any question I can. Um, but also take the chance. It's it's a beautiful program, and you're not only going to learn, which is fantastic, and have a deeper appreciation for our city, but you're also going to make lifelong friends. I mean, it, it's just wonderful. Just do it. Just
Well
do
said.
it.
Also, and before we leave, do you want to give a quick plug if you're with Century 21, right? So if someone needs to find you or they got questions about purchasing or selling a home, where would they locate you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am a realtor with Century 21, the Hills Realty. We are at 1726 Sydney Baker, which is right across the street from Billy's Western Wear and Home Depot, if that helps. And we're always there to chat with you. It doesn't matter if you're looking to buy, sell, downsize, upsize. We got you covered.
And I've been in your guys' office, and it is a wonderful office space that you got there. So,
Well, thank you.
Caitlin, thank you again so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your input and insight into your or giving us the time to talk about leadership in our lovely community.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you.
This is Tom Fox again. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Investing in the Future, Developing Leadership in Kerr County. If you're interested in Leadership-Kerr County, please contact either Andrew or myself for more information. I hope you'll join us again for our next episode. Investing in the Future, Developing Leadership in Kerr County is a production of the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network.